So the standard form of a quadratic is a quadratic that is written in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, where c is the y-intercept, and the axis of symmetry is found using a and b with the formula x equals negative b over 2a. And again, that's for the axis of symmetry. So in order to graph a parabola, there's a certain level of steps that we can follow. All right? The first is that we need to find the axis of symmetry. So on this parabola that I'm given, I'm going to find the axis of symmetry, which is the vertical line where x equals negative b, so negative 4, over 2 times a. And in this case, our a value is 2. So if I go to simplify that, I have x equals negative 4 over 4, because 2 times 2 is 4. Therefore, x equals negative 1. So I can draw the axis of symmetry for this parabola right here at x equals negative 1. I'm going to label that right here just so I remember it for my axis. Now the vertex of this parabola is going to lie somewhere on this axis of symmetry. So step number 2 says to plug in the x value from this axis of symmetry into the equation to find the vertex. So that's what I'm going to do for step number 2. And I'm just going to replace f of x with the letter y. That way we get our y value. So I have 2 times x squared, so negative 1 squared, plus 4 times negative 1 plus 2. So if I go to simplify that, negative 1 squared is just positive 1, times 2 is 2. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. And then we have a plus 2 here. So 2 minus 4 plus 2 is 0. So the ordered pair for my vertex is at negative 1, 0. Alright, so that is right here. And remember, if you put a point on a graph, make sure to label it. Step number 3 says to plot your y-intercept, which is your c value. Alright, in this case, our c value is 2. So I'm going up 2 on the y-axis, and I'm plotting that point. Step number 4 is to reflect that y-intercept. So this y-intercept is 1 point away from the axis to the right. So I'm going to go 1 point to the left and put that second point there. So that is at, let's see, that's at negative 2, 2. Step number 5 is kind of an optional step. It says to use the a value to plot 2 more points. Okay. Now remember, this a value, okay, I'll put a marker here. This a value tells us when we go 1 unit to the side, how many units up we go. Alright, so specifically, this a value is getting me these points, which are repeats. That only happens when your axis of symmetry is 1 unit away from the vertex. But usually we want 5 points when we graph a parabola, so it's nice to use that a value. You can also plug in a simple number to get another point. So for example, to get my 5th points here, I'm going to go ahead and try plugging in 1 and seeing what my value is when I plug in 1. Okay, so I'm going to give myself some room by erasing my vertex. like I said, I'm just plugging in to get my 4th and 5th points, because we usually want 5 anchor points with a quadratic. So if I plug in 1, which is an easy number, I get 2 times 1 squared plus 4 times 1 plus 2. So 1 squared is 1, times 2 is 2, 4 times 1 is 4, and then we have a plus 2. So when x is equal to 1, my y value is equal to 8. So there's another anchor point for my graph. And then to get a good 5th point, right, this anchor point is 2 away, so I'm going to go 2 backwards this way, which is at -3. And once I have my 5 points, then I'm going to go ahead and connect them with a parabola. Now a parabola is usually like a U shape, so make sure you don't have a pointy V. And there we have it. So that is graphing from standard form.